I'm excited to table this one, but partially because I'm not excited to table this one. Hi, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and this is my unboxing and rambling of Burncycle. Burncycle from Chip Theory Games, and everything I said a minute ago will make sense as I start going through this. But I really am excited to dive into this one, and I really am not excited to dive into this one. It's two things going on at the same time. We'll talk about it shortly. First of all, coffee shot as usual. A little depressing coffee shot because I have this instead of my usual latte. I mean, this is not bad, but I prefer my actual usual latte. The problem is, as I film this, we are like 2 days away from Passover, and I don't know what you know or don't know about Passover, but that does involve a purging of a whole bunch of stuff in your house to basically get rid of all leavened bread and all those things, and that it gets complicated pretty quickly. The short version is my usual access to coffee is kind of restricted, and for the next day or so, I have that. It's very depressing, honestly. Anyways, Burncycle by Chip Theory Games. And as usual, disclaimer, this is an unboxing and rambling. This will be partially about Burncycle and partially about whatever chooses to make its way into my head as we go through it. Let's start off, though, with what I said a second ago. I'm excited and not excited to dive into this game. And that's because of the fact that I had a chance to play Burncycle already. This will not be my first dive into Burncycle, but it will be my first dive into Burncycle under the new rules, of which I believe there are new rules. See, this was... Give me a second here. Probably should have cut this more. This is a big, heavy box. Anyways, Burncycle. Burncycle from Chip Theory Games. Chip Theory Games, who have made one of my favorite games of all time, which is Too Many Bones. They've also made Hoplomachus, which is excellent, but I haven't played that one in a while. I do have backed the Hoplomachus Victorum, so I have that one coming. Then we have Cloudspire, which I desperately need to have someone teach me how to play, because I've been having a hard time. It's one of those games I've been having a hard time actually setting up and tabling properly. There's a whole revised rule set and everything. Cloudspire is a mess. I need to figure out a way to play it online or play at a convention or something. Just something. We'll figure that out another time. What else do they have? They have Burncycle. Burncycle is their newest line into the games, and I think that's pretty much it. They have the lock-picking game as well, but that was okay. It didn't feel like a Chip Theory game. So it's pretty much Hoplomachus, it's Too Many Bones, it's Cloudspire, Hoplomachus again, and now Burncycle. Those are the games that Chip Theory Games puts out, and they are all absolutely fantastic, and something is shaking under the table. I keep hearing like a little something. I don't know what's making the noise. Either way, let's dive into this. So, we have our coffee off to the side, our half coffee. We have Burncycle over here. Burncycle, which is a game that I did have a chance of playing it on TTS when they were doing the campaign. The problem is, it was really very heavily leaning into the fact that this was a campaign, this was a campaign that was based on a prototype and an idea that had not yet fully been fleshed out. They had concepts they needed to iterate, and whenever you back a game on Kickstarter, it very drastically varies in terms of how far along the production queue something is. Triplock. Triplock is the one that doesn't feel like their game, as well as Game to Pick a Game. Those also don't feel like their games. Hoplomachus, though, that feels like a Chip Theory game. But they very much heavily leaned into the idea that, hey, this is a prototype, this is a concept, we will iterate and improve upon that concept, and we'll also give you 3 rulebooks that could have been packed better, so, I mean, it's fine, but could have been packed better. But, either way, and so, the reason I say that is because I know that myself and others played the game and had a variety of different opinions and experiences based on our dive into Burncycle. Burncycle at a high level, for those who want the general high level of what's going on here, is a stealth-based game. You're going to have these maps over here that you can be setting up. These are very cool. Let's go ahead and set something up here. You'll have these general maps that you're setting up. I believe you have the underlying map over here. Let's pull this out. Let's do this whole thingamajig right here. So you have a general floor plan that you'll be setting out these map tiles on. Probably should not do this. Let's just do this all the same, though. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. Here's our floor plan that will hopefully never have to go back in that bag because that bag's gone now. So you have your general floor plan with 2 possible options as far as how it's set up over here. Let's put that down. And then you have your map tiles that go on said floor plan. So you have these kind of sectors kind of giving you this appearance or perception of like a room or a situation. So you have these entry points, you have these rooms, and then between all of that, you end up kind of coming away with these options that make it appear like you have, some sort of floor plan. We have our exit vent. Let's put that over there. Let's put it like this, because then we have the pathway around. And then we have one of these down here. And ta-da, you now have a map for a Burncycle. that's pretty cool, actually. That's pretty cool looking. Looks significantly better than what we played with online doing the prototype. These, I believe, are elevators to get to the second floor, if I'm not mistaken. They had a bunch of concepts in the game. The idea is across 3 floors, and you could play a 1, 2, or 3 floor game, but across 3 floors, you're going to have your chips dealing with the Burncycle as you try to figure out how to manipulate and navigate a whole bunch of aspects of the game in order to ideally win. I mean, manipulate and navigate aspects of a game in order to win is one of the most useless ways or descriptors I've ever given for a board game, but that's for 2 reasons. First of all, is I have not played this game in a very long time. Second of all, is this game has changed since then. And third of all, is this is not a how to play, this is a general overview of the game. This focuses heavily on a stealth-based mechanic, in which you're going to have aspects of being able to hide in various locations and robots that will see or sense your movement, and then you have the actual robots and things. I don't even know what these are. These look like some sort of chip thingamajiggy. Don't know what they are. Maybe they hold various little bits. We'll figure all that stuff out later. But this is what we have here. So we have all these different tiles over here. Let's just go through a few more tiles, because they have a whole bunch of tiles here, which is very nice. A whole bunch of options, from anything from these tiny little ones over here. And these are all nice. They're all nice. I mean, this is classic Chip Theory games. Neoprene and chips. That's their main bread and butter. We have a whole bunch of different locations, the art and all those things. Again, it's nice to have art, because doing the Kickstarter, they kind of only just started teasing the art halfway through the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter did well, not necessarily as well as it could have, partially because they really had to kind of convince people on the facet of, hey, this is an experience. This is not something we have off the bat. You're kind of backing us based on our history to date and hoping for the best. Which, for many companies, is kind of like, yeah, thank you. For Chip Theory Games, it's actually not the craziest thing that they've said. And it seems to have worked out well for them. You see, my opinion of Burncycle, my opinion from playing one game of the prototype online on TTS, I think I played it with Devin. I'm pretty sure I played this with Devin. Devin Norris, you know, that Cracklope dude. I think that was like the 3rd game that I ever played with Devin. Wow. You see, Devin and I, by the way, for context, Devin and I, we played, our first game we ever played was, should I clean this up? Yeah, I'll clean this up. Our first game that Devin and I ever played together was in the Hall of the Mountain. No, not on the Hall. In Too Deep. In Too Deep from Burnt Island Games. We played that game together online. I believe our second game was Feed the Kraken, if I'm not mistaken, and our third game was Burncycle. At that point, we started talking more. We were just round up playing a bunch of games together online, then we started talking and connecting and spending time together. And listen, mistakes were made. It happens. Sometimes you think people are decent folk, and it turns out that they think that you should take Through the Ages out of the top 100, which is insane, but hey, you can't always get what you want and all that. Okay, we have more of these over here. But yeah, I think I played this game with Devin, but we played online. I enjoyed the game without loving it, meaning my overall opinion of Burncycle, an opinion that I got some pushback on, which I'll explain in a second. My overall opinion of Burncycle was, this was fun, and granted it was a first play, I need more plays, I need to go through multiple floors, see more of the experience, and also prototype, but I don't see a world in which I pick this over Hoplomachus or Too Many Bones. I would just rather play those games. They kind of have a general high-level overview, similar feel, and those ones were better games to me. Again, prototype, first play, TTS, not a full game. So lots of caveats, lots and lots of caveats, but that was my initial impression of Burncycle. I'm still interested though, because it's Chip Theory Games, and also because prototype, and also because all the caveats I gave, but that was my first impression of the game. And so for the past several months, I have been sitting here with my opinion being, I want to see what this final game is, but also, like, best case scenario, or not best case scenario, most likely case scenario is that I play it, and I'm like, that was really fun. Also, I'm going to get rid of it and keep Too Many Bones and Hoplomachus, and that will be my experience there. That was my kind of instinctive impression. And also, I have stealth-based games. I even have more stealth-based games now with Earth Under Siege Flashpoint. It's even more stealth-based content that I have access to, and at a certain point, there's only so many stealth-based games you need. I believe I called my Earth Under Siege review, my review for Earth Under Siege Flashpoint, I titled it Stealth Done Right. Okay? That's what I titled the review. And I meant it. So I did believe it was Stealth Done Right. What am I going to title this one? Stealth Done Righter? Is it done right? I did actually like the stealth aspect, to be fair. If I recall correctly, and I am going back, a long time ago, but if I recall correctly, I do not like how this thing was packaged. It does not feel like this was packaged well. It's fine, I'm like, whatever. But yeah, I felt that the stealth aspects of the game were done well. It's more the general rest of it, especially the sideboard. They had this grid. They had two different aspects that were interesting. or 3 different aspects. They had the general stealth and combat mechanics. They had the Burncycle, which is how you actually program your movements and actions. And then they had the sideboard, which was the side grid, which has got to be somewhere here. I don't know where it is, but there's... Oh, maybe it's this. Maybe it's this. Here we go. This was the side grid you have, okay? So this, excuse all the baggy noises. It's just baggy noises. What are you going to do? Let's get this down here. Here we go. So this was the side grid that they had in the game. This is a side grid where you have these bots kind of closing in on you on the network. And you have to manage the network. And it's an entirely separate minigame that wasn't inspiring. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't inspiring. It was like, oh, I think you have this concept, and I think you didn't really fully develop this concept, and you didn't really feel... I feel like you wanted the concept to exist, and you forced yourself to make it exist, as opposed to feeling like an integral part of the game. That was my instinctive impression of the network from the first time I played it. I don't know how it's changed. I do know it has changed, okay? I just watched, what's it called? Michael Kelly from One Stop Co-Shop and Jeremy Howard. They did a joint review of Burncycle over on MVM. You can check that out. I highly encourage it. Spoilers, Michael Kelly gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Jeremy Howard gave it an 8 out of 10. Those are some solid numbers from people who clearly, not clearly, but I know that they know Too Many Bones and they're fans of Chip Theory games. And those are solid numbers. So my interest level in this definitely went up after seeing that. And both of them had the same hesitations. Based on watching the review, both of them had the same hesitations I did of their initial experience with it. Seeing a lot of promise, but also not being completely sold. So it is interesting to see that, and then to kind of want to follow it up and see, great, that was Burncycle then. Let's see where Burncycle now is. We have the classic dice situation. Now, one thing Michael talked about in his notes, and I remember this from playing it, is how the dice never really felt punishing. It felt like you were always able to use them. So they have the dice, but if you didn't like the dice system in Too Many Bones, or Hopmox doesn't really have the same level. I mean, it has a guess. But if you don't like the dice as much in those games, you don't like feeling victim to the luck of the dice, Burncycle has more of a management system around it and not really feeling like you lose out. There still is the luck of the dice. It's definitely a factor, but it doesn't kind of sting or burn as much when things don't go your way. But again, I like the game. It felt like a prototype. It felt like something in development. And so that's why I am both excited and not excited to play this game. I'm not excited because my mental recollection of it is I'd rather be spending my time playing Too Many Bones, which is a game that I definitely don't play enough, and I want to play Too Many Bones. That's my mental recollection of it. But my mental recollection might be different than the current status quo of the game. It's always interesting covering Kickstarters, because at any given point in the Kickstarter process, in the prototype process, different games are at different states. I have played games that I thought could use a few critical pieces of changes, of feedback, of adjustments, and I find out that, hey, it's basically a finished game, and we're just covering a finished game, that they might tweak some things, the rules, the components, but it's basically, it is what it is. The feedback loop of production and design is done with by the time the Kickstarter lands. And honestly, it's a little sad, because my favorite kinds of reviews on the channel are where I can actually have a meaningful impact, not just on your purchasing decision, but on the final state of the game. If I experience something in a way that I think could be improved upon, and I would say more specifically if multiple reviewers have the same general concept, like, hey, the game was great, but this aspect felt too long, too fiddly, too something, well, then we can have a meaningful change on the game and give her a better final product. That's incredible. It has happened. There are times I can point to where my feedback has been incorporated in ways that makes it into the final product, and I like that. Selfishly, because it makes the game better for me, but also because hopefully it makes the game better for others. I say hopefully because it's scary. What if I made the game worse for others, but better for me? That's always the scary part, which is why I always encourage anyone who I'm dealing with as a, you know, when I'm doing prototype coverage, I always encourage everyone on the other side of the conversation to heavily seek other sources of feedback, because I should not be your only source of feedback. But anyways, the point is that a lot of games are in different stages of the production cycle, and to that end, this one seems to have very much been in the stage of, hey, we're making changes, we're taking into account feedback, and in fact, if I recall correctly, they already had their own notes internally of, hey, these are some aspects that we feel could be improved upon, and, you know, getting that feedback from others actually really does matter. Here are the chips that Chip Theory is so famous for, hence the name Chip Theory. I mean, they as a company, they're phenomenal. Like, the things they've done as a company, they basically sat there and said, hey, we're just going to come up with this bizarre way of making games, and we're going to focus and limit ourselves to specific types of production, and we're just going to call it a day, and we'll just make it work. And they've made it work. I mean, they've made it work to no end as far as the way they just leaned heavily into Chip Theory games. Neoprene masks, chips, and that's their game production. It's such a weird concept, but it's a weird concept that is working well for them. Let me just get this out over here. We have all these chips. I'll go through them in a second. But yeah, good for them. Good for them that they've made that work for them, that they've gotten that competitive advantage, market advantage, unique way of standing out, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, this game also has multiple characters. More characters than you can expect to see in your typical Too Many Bones base game. You'll get a lot more characters, but also they don't have the same level of depth, for better and for worse. It means you don't have to learn a full new set of rules when you want to dive into a new character. But then again, you don't have the same level of depth that required you to learn a full new set of rules. It goes both ways, and that's always the case. I mean, in general, it's always complicated trying to find that sweet spot of accessibility versus excellence, because it always is a sweet spot. It always is a trade-off. The more accessible a game is, the better the initial first impression, but the worse the long-term impression. The more depth the game has, the worse the first-term impression, but the better the long-term impression. It's always a complicated trade-off that has no real winners. It just has who's your target audience and who are you making the game for. And also, are you, either as a designer or as a company, have you built up that reputation that allows people to seek further into a game? It's one of the things I always find fascinating, that generally heavier games, for the most part, usually end up coming from the same designers or the same companies. Usually. There are exceptions, but if you look at most heavier, longer experiences, there's usually either a company or a designer attached to those in a way that you don't necessarily need for lighter experiences. And I think part of that's because if people are going to invest their time, effort, and energy into a game that takes 4 plays to like really mentally grok it, well, they want to kind of feel that there's a reason to do so, and having a designer attached to it definitely does help. Alright, let's take a look at these chips. Full disclaimer, I have not played this game in a year and a half. I have no idea what these chips do. There's people, there's good guys, there's bad guys. There's also metal miniatures that supposedly look great. I don't have those in this unboxing. It's one of those few times I don't have an all-in unboxing. I have a mostly all-in unboxing. Metal miniatures look great. We have over here, we have Ghost over here, one of these things. The art looks great on these. I like the art already. You know, it's solid. I like it. It's got quick, clear information on it. I assume these are characters. I don't remember. It's been so long since I played. We have Code, Upgrade, Tendril. I kind of want to dive into this. I need to read the rulebook this weekend and dive into it. There have been significant changes. It's just interesting. It's one of those things. It's an interesting conversation as well, which I'll probably have to do a dedicated video on it. Ow. I'll probably have to do a dedicated video on this, but there's a whole other conversation around the nature of reviewing a prototype that may well change. It's a complicated conversation. It's me, you know, going on camera and saying, here are notes about this game, or this game is, you know, the downtime was too high. But that might not be final in the present game, and so if somebody buys the final game, or is looking to buy the final game, and they watch a prototype review along the way, even though I say in it, you know, this is a prototype, all rules, components, subject to change, they might walk away with the wrong impression that is not matching up to the game. It's a very messy conversation, and it's a big point as to why you should consider having previews and not reviews. You know, James Hudson recently touched upon this when talking about Tidal Blades, because I basically said, hey, Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Infiltrators, great game. Also, the difficulty, not where I want it to be. And the problem is, someone might walk away with a more permanent impression than what I mean, which is, hey, the copy I played is not where I want to be, and it's a prototype, but you know, hopefully that gets changed. And the problem is, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but you never really know. And also, you're making a purchasing decision at the time of, you know, you're making a purchasing decision now. So information now is relevant, even though information now is half the conversation. It's kind of like having a trailer of a movie before the movie is done, which happens, by the way. Very often, they put out trailers of a movie before the movie is done. But it's the weird conversation. You're always trying to be mindful of when the decision to purchase or to buy or to act on is happening, versus, you know, the most relevant information. These are probably bad guys because there's more copies of them, so I'm assuming they're bad guys. Again, it's been a very long time. I remember there's an elevator. I remember there's skills, there's upgrades, there's the whole side cycle. I also remember that all of my information is useless because the game has changed since then. What are these over here? These look like more generic chips that are not... These might be... I don't know what these are. Like you see over here, these are just like, you know, they got 2 sides over here, but they're icon based. So it's not like a photo on it. I can't grab that. So you can see over here that and that. We have a lot of those over here. You know, that and that. Just, they look very nice. They look very pretty. No idea what they are. We'll have to take a look at that and see. And then we have the side box over here, Specialist. We'll take a look at that as well. These, again, more of the same as far as just, you know, not really necessarily having images so much as just stuff. Stuff's fun. Stuff's good. I just don't know what the stuff is. I have to read the rulebook. We haven't gone through the rulebook. I usually go through rulebooks first in these. Let's take a look at the rulebook in a second. Ooh, that's that. That's fun. What is that? What's that guy over there? Casing? A casing. What is a casing? I don't know what it is, but we got casing over here. We have crash. Are these miniatures? Are these characters? I don't know what they are. We'll have to find out. We'll have to go ahead and find out, because at the end of the day, this is just an unboxing. There is going to be a review to follow, because that's how these conversations work. Okay, let's put these off to the side. Let's put these off to the side. We have our stuff. We have our bags. You can go in here. We have some cards. Let's take a look at some cards. Okay. Ooh, the terminals. I remember the terminals. Okay. The terminals had an interesting aspect on them in which you would basically flip them and then have options on the other side. Let's go ahead and take a look at these. Let's take a look. And they had different like action points required to take these options. So we have a terminal over here. So you can see the said terminal. And when we flip it, you have actions. So you can, go to the comms, and you can ambient noise triggers reduce threat by 1 for 1 AP. You can surveil, biometric scan, surveil a room of your choice for 2 AP, 2 action points. And you had all these different terminals over here, which were fun. Don't remember much about them past that, but they were fun-ish, maybe, probably. This is a game, I'm going to have to dive into this. The real question is whether I dive into this solo or with other players, or maybe with Devin. When's Devin here? Oh my gosh, Devin. Devin should play Burncycle with me, because he and I played that game a long, long time ago. I can still remember how I dreamt of playing Burncycle. There's something else I want to talk about in this video. I can't remember what it was, though. It was the nature of reviews, of previews, of things changing. I don't remember. I don't walk in with lots of firm conversations about what I want to cover. Here's the general box in case you want to see all the contents. We got the large board, we got the network map, we have all the things over here, and then this goes over here like so. I guess here's the problem. The question is, where do these go? These over here are your boards that are going to be tracking your things over here as far as bad stuff happening along the way. These are the various characters. Are they characters? No. Chain and Salida. I don't remember what the reason. I remember these things moved around as far as the mission failing at the bottom. I don't remember past that exactly how it worked. We have this over here. This can go like so. And then this can go like so on top of that. I think that works. It seems fine. Everything's all kosher over there. We have these over here. Let's push this off to the side. Although, before we put that out, let's go ahead and start going through these over here, because these may well fit into the core box. I imagine they do, just because there's empty space in some of those areas. So, let's take a look at what we have. This is the Specialist expansion, which I believe is more characters, but let's take a look. The Specialist. Every heist needs a Specialist, and with the Specialist bot pack, you'll be getting 4 of them, featuring the Aquabot Gyro, Procurer subroutine, etc., etc., etc. This is going to come out like so. And we have these guys over here, which will definitely fit into. So, we have some of these over here, and then some cards, which means we can definitely consolidate this into the main box once we get it out. That is like really, really in there. Okay, let's put this like this. Let's take this out. Let's see who we have here. These are 4 characters or specialists you can utilize in the game in some way, shape, or form. Don't remember the exact details of the difference between a character versus whatever. We have Firewall over here. Traffic control. At the start of the network step of each agent's turn, they may choose whether their IP will move clockwise or counterclockwise. All subsequent network movements that turn must be in the same direction. Interesting. So these are ways to mess with the firewall, or it depends on the person. They might have different options. So we have different characters, different options over here as far as these. We'll put those off to the side, and then this will go off to the side. So that's one. We have these, which we'll take care of shortly. These will go into our main box in a second, which I probably shouldn't have packed things away just yet. Then we have the Biodefend. The Biodefend expansion is the other expansion we have over here. I don't know if this will fit into the main box, we'll find out. The newest corporations to threaten the bots of Burncycle, and it may be their toughest challenge yet. So, oh, that was the sideboard. These sideboards were corporation boards. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at this. If we want to come out. The problem with these boxes is, there we go. Okay, we got this, we got this, we got this, we got dice, we got dice. This one I'm a little bit more hesitant to stuff into the main box. Do I not? What do I do? Because I don't want to have a separate box for this. I just feel it's unnecessary. But I also am always mindful of the fact that sometimes, if you put expansion stuff into a box before you're ready, you can find yourself in the unfortunate situation in which you don't know exactly how things were structured and things get a little messier. But we're going to do it. We're going to go ahead and put this in, and we'll figure it out. I'm optimistic about this game. See, it's a real problem. Every year, more and more games come out that are very appealing in very different ways. And the ones that I don't like are easy. I get rid of those. Makes my life significantly easier, no problem whatsoever. The ones I do like, at a certain point, you have to figure out how you're getting more time in your life to play these games, or you have to recognize that games can't always stick around, which is a very problematic but very real conversation we have to all have with ourselves. Or maybe just me. Maybe it's just on me, because maybe you have more self-control than I do, because I mean, like, even right now, looking at this game, I remember I have three things going on right now. I have my original, not critical, but my initial opinion of the game was good, but don't feel the need to own it compared to Too Many Bones or Hopomakis. My second opinion is the fact that, what's his name, Jeremy Howard and One Stop Coffee Shop and Michael Kelly, that they were very positive on the game. So that's opinion number 2. Opinion number 3 is the fact that I'm currently staring at it and remembering aspects of it, and I really want to play it now. So, opinion 3 might win out. We'll have to see. Okay, we're going to shove these down here. So that will be kind of a semi-remembrance of those. These dice could probably go into... I'll put them over there, that's fine. And then we have these Biodefends over here, which are going to be their own Biodefend. We'll leave these as is. We'll put that over here like so. I think I'm fine with this. Okay, great. This goes over here like so. Kind of just stuffing it all together. We'll come back to you in a second. I'm not going to open these Biodefend. I'm going to leave these together so I can have these all, like, you know, just kind of separate as far as their own thing. We'll come back to them. Let's take a look at some other core concepts. We have your main board over here, or sort of main board. If I recall correctly, is that your robot board? Don't go by anything I'm saying, because I don't remember anything here. We have this over here, which we have to open. Again, more bags that will go away. These bags will not make noise forever. These are your individual characters that you're managing. You're going to have your dice, your various areas. Let's just put one out to the side. And let's do one over here. Okay? And then let's open this bag over here. So, this bag has all the stuff, all the various things we have. Just lots of options. We have our various bots. We have these things over here. This operation. I don't remember anything about them. These are just the setup for the various operations. Again, you have your different floors. You have a length 1, 2, or 3 floor operations for different... Oh, wow. There's a lot of content here. There's a lot of content. I'm very excited to dive into this. These are all the operations for the various corporations with various floor options available to you. Lots of stuff over here, which means we have even more content in terms of this over here, the Biodefend over here. That's more content for the game. I am very intrigued as to my opinion of Burncycle when I'm done with it. Very intrigued. Then we have these over here. I guess these go over here. I can't remember. Again, I can't perfectly remember. I don't love that. I don't love how that kind of has to go on top. It's a little irritating, because if you shift things around, I mean, I guess it does drag. That's actually pretty nice. That drags. That's pretty cool. It might just be my surface here, but like as I pull this around, it's maintaining the positioning. Oh, mostly. You see. We'll see. It's not the worst. Also, you're probably not dragging this around that much, but the initial positioning could be slightly irritating. That's going to be that over there. I don't know what goes in here. I don't know if you have like something like this in here. I don't know. I don't remember how it works. It might just be your central bot, because I remember you had like a shared bot that you could all utilize for your actions, and then you had your own individual characters. Over here, byte, interface, memory, casing, crash, bit, exe, yeah, X, I guess, probably X. But yeah, lots of fun stuff. Lots of fun stuff over here. Very intrigued, very curious. I wonder, this can't go there. That makes no sense, but we'll figure it out. That's what rulebooks are for. Rulebook, by the way, is over here. We still haven't gone through rulebook. Give me a few minutes. We'll go through rulebook in a second. I think I will keep this bag from all the bags, because it doesn't seem like this is well organized to... Maybe they go there? Maybe they go there. Let's take a look. Let's take a look and see where these go. This, I can see these potentially going in the corner here, because they kind of seem to fit. But also they seem to fit in a way that if you put them there, you wouldn't be able to get them out very easily. So I'm not going to rely on that yet. They may yet end up there. Maybe they go in here as well. It's another possibility. But for right now, they're going to go back in this bag while I figure that out for later. Or maybe they go in here. It can kind of fit. You see, it kind of, maybe. We'll find out. This is why reboxing videos can be a thing. So you see, it can kind of shove it over there. It just doesn't come out very nicely if I do. This can go over here, like so. These can go over here, again, like so. Like so is a very, very popular word of mine. Like so, and either way, and okay. Let's see. Okay. Let's see is also a good filler word. And then we have these, and these, and these. And then finally, we have the rulebooks, which will go on top. But I'm not going to do that just yet, because we haven't yet gone through the rulebooks. So, box off to the side again. Burncycle can go away. And we can go ahead and take a look at the 3 rulebooks: the Learn to Play, the Rules Reference, and the Floor Plan Book. that seems pretty referenceable. So, learn to play first, which is bent, unfortunately. This, got bent in the box. Again, not the end of the world. I'm never going to give a company a hard time about that. It's irritating, but not enough to make an issue of it. Okay. We have special recognition, Shannon Wedge, game development, Sean Boyd, graphic design, credits over here, a note from Ship Theory Games, welcome to Year 3000, table of contents. We have page 7, page 9. Page 8 is kind of setup, page 9 is a little setup, and the rules kind of begin on page 10. From there, the rules go all the way through. It's fairly picture heavy, although it's also text heavy. The rules are not short to be very clear, and I remember this game was not the hardest to actually learn and play, but there's a difference between being taught it as you go versus diving into yourself. And we're looking at page 10 to page 38-ish or so. This is a tutorial, though. It does guide you through it pretty decently, but it's going to be 27 pages of guiding you through it pretty decently. So this is going to be homework for next week. So that's going to have to be that. We have the rules reference, which does this serve a purpose. This book consolidates all the rules of Burncycle in a format that's easy to reference during gameplay. If you're new to Burncycle, we recommend you start with the Learn to Play book, using it as a guide for your first game and for following the sequence of the game. Players should consult this rules reference as questions arise during gameplay. Good, because this is the balance. It's a weird balance. Fantasy Flight does a decent job with this, but not perfect. Sometimes if you have a rules reference, and if you kind of instruct players to kind of use it as a reference as opposed to the rules themselves, sometimes you miss essential rules. I played Marvel Champions wrong for a long time because I just went by the Learn to Play guide, and I didn't read the rules reference, which taught me a whole bunch of things that weren't in the Learn to Play guide, which was very irritating because I like playing games right, but I just went by the Learn to Play guide. So that's a little bit frustrating. I don't have easy solutions there because what are you supposed to do? Like, have someone read another 30 pages on top of the first 30 pages? Do you suggest they play the game twice before diving into this? There's all these different options, and usually the more complicated your game is, the less you have any ideal options. And then finally, we have the floor plan. The need chain, Silicon Mountain. This just gives you, I guess, the floor plan for the specific floors and aspects. Are the floors always the same for each corporation? I wonder if that's the case. Because it looks like they are. It looks like each floor, like Salida, has this as floor 1, and this is floor 2, and this is floor 3, which is thematically accurate. I like how they did it. I mean, I like and don't like. They included the Biodefend expansion in this, which makes it all in one guide, which is very nice, but it also could be irritating for those who didn't get the Biodefend. So from a selfish standpoint, I like it. From a standpoint of showing people expansion content to kind of upsell them, I respect it, and I don't really have a problem with it, but I respect that people might have a problem with it. And that's Burncycle. And that's more garbage that went into the box top. That is Burncycle from Ship Theory Games. I am excited to dive into this one, but I'm excited to dive into this one to see where it goes. Either it becomes a game that I don't feel the need to own because I have too many bones, I have Hofflemachus on the way, and I have many, many great solo games, and this is not exclusively solo, but I have many great games that fall into the genre, and who really needs another one? On the other hand, if it's amazing, then I have to figure out how to tell you that, because I already used the title, it's an interesting conversation, because I love it when I love new games. I do. Like, when I play a new game and I like aspects of it, it is so exciting to me. I love that. But also, how do you convey that? Because you can't constantly be calling things the best new game ever. It takes away from, well, first of all, things can't be the best new game ever all the time. I would say there's usually around 10 games a year or so that I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this game. And then there's a lot of good, fun games. Nightmare Cathedral is a great game that I really enjoyed. Mind MGMT is, oh my gosh, I love this game. There's different conversations, different categories you have. And when I played Earth Under Siege Flashpoint, I called, one of the things I said is stealth done right, because that was a highlight that I felt was worth pointing to. But if I play Burncycle, and if the stealth in Burncycle feels like it's done better than that, what do I do now? You can't keep escalating when something is the best, even if it is currently the best. Sometimes it's recency bias. You play something new and it's exciting. It's a weird balance. You can't always be excited. Again, this is why, like, if you watch all my reviews and not just the ones where I title it something hyped up, if you watch all my reviews, they definitely are all over the place as far as I'm excited about a lot of games. I love a lot of games, and a lot of games are good and not particularly amazing. If anything that's a 3.5 or under, I'm usually keeping it against my best judgment, if I keep it at all. More often than not, they go away. But sometimes it's like, hey, this is a good game that my wife enjoyed, and I'll play it with my wife. But if it's a 3.5 for me, based on my, like, and not my wife or my kids or anything else, usually it's leaving. It's not actually true, though. Like, Subastral staying, I don't know. it's complicated. 3.5s are usually temporary stays, if they stay at all. There's a lot of games, a lot of decisions, a lot of ways to navigate the conversation of there's good stuff every year, there's great stuff every year, and there's okay stuff every year, and there's also bad stuff every year. Just a conversation around how we cover it. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you enjoyed this unboxing of Burncycle from Chip 3 Games. I hope to dive into it in the next week or two. We'll see how much games I can get running. The nice part is, if you missed it, I did recently quit my job, and I'm doing YouTube full-time now. Part of that means doing the day, like 9 to 5 when I was previously at work. I can devote that to like saying, hey, today's Monday, today's Burncycle day. I'm going to hop fully into Burncycle. I was playing a lot of games before, but it's sometimes these heavier games that have a lot more going on. Like Burncycle is a game I want to play a lot of content before I review it, which means sometimes that review could take several weeks or months to actually come out. Prototypes I prioritize because there's a timeline, but if there's not a timeline, then it could take weeks or months till I have enough content under my belt to feel ready to review Burncycle. The nice thing is that's no longer true. Now I can play it for play it a full day today, play it a full day next week, and giving myself the space specifically with intent, giving myself that space to breathe while also getting a lot of gameplay in. I can devote time to Burncycle and get coverage out. It changes the conversation if I'm strict enough about my schedule and force myself to properly do this, which I hope I can be, but we'll see. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Thanks for being here, and as always, have a good one.